Record as we speak. Ladies and gentlemen, you are being recorded. Anything you say or do will be published in public, and you may be shamed. No, you won't be shamed. It'll be good.
It may be held against you, though.
It'll be held against you.
So anything you do not mention and fail to bring up may later be brought up.
Exactly. That's right.
Gosh, this is getting complicated already.
Yeah. I'm already feeling like I'm being outsmarted.
Well, I've got my half a liter of black coffee over ice ready, so I'm ready to rock and roll.
Is that really just straight black coffee?
And ice? Yeah. Yeah, very nice.
My coffee was this big, and the rest was milk.
Oh, yeah. Well, this has water in it as well. It's not like pure.
It's not pure black coffee, right? It's got some ice cubes in it. That's good, Jamie. That's good.
Yeah.
I'll see you're going to be in a really, really calm, deep spiritual feeling today. That's
well, we'll see.
We shall see. So what time is it? Should we
it's time.
Let's do it. Well,
Amir, do you want me to frame it up, or do you want to kind of introduce the session and then I'll frame up,
Yes, we can. I'll do a quick introduction.
Cool.
And let me pause everybody. Yes. She wants to say hi. I have to bring her in. This is Aria.
Hi.
Do you see all these people?
Hello.
Give them a kiss. Okay, now get out of here. Go.
Bye.
Okay, so let me mute everybody. Okay. You guys, I am so excited. Welcome, everyone. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I am so sorry. Hold on. Yes, Mama. You want Auntie's phone? Okay, let's go get it. I just made her go read Jamie's book, Clarity, so she'll be fine for a little bit. This is real life. This is how it works, right? This is how real life works. That's why I love this. Welcome, everyone. I am so excited. One of the things that I love about this group is it's irreverent, but I want it to be real life, not just concepts and sitting in a hotel room trying to get into a deeper feeling like what happens when we go out in the world. And Jamie is one of the people that for many years I followed because I feel like I can have a practical understanding of life and stuff in general. Your book didn't do it for her.
It's get her to ask for a refund, Amir.
Yeah, I am. I will. And so as I was saying, is one of the most important things for me is the practicality of this understanding. What do we do with this stuff once we get this? We get it, we understand it, and then all of a sudden we're stuck. We don't know how to explain it to anyone. We go to companies and corporations, friends and family, and they're so confused with your newfound lightness and sunshine face and smiles, but it sounds a little bit off. And so Jamie and I got into a discussion, and I'll let him explain a little bit more, and we're going to go right to it. But I know that you wanted to speak a little bit. I know you have a program, right? Is it happening now, or are you going to have the program? Is Clarity happening now?
I'll tell you about it. So the idea for this this conversation and this session started because I was actually delivering the last Clarity Coach training program. One of the questions that came up was, how do you take this understanding to such and such a group? And so the kinds of examples we had were, well, the first one actually, so I said, like, I tend to kind of shoot from the hip. I said, well, listen, it's my assertion that these principles are underpinning every human experience. So if they're true, if they truly are principles, then they should be just as relevant for a firefighter running into a burning building as they are for a hockey player hitting the ice after halftime, as they are to a concert pianist playing their debut performance, to, you know, it should be to the CEO of a multinational deciding about their business strategy. It should be, they should be, if they truly are principles underpinning all human experience, then they should show up everywhere. So that was my assertion. And so when people said, well, how would you explain it to whoever? I said, well, I can explain it to everyone. So the first example I got was someone said, well, I'm doing a presentation at Sky Television about gut health. How would you show the principles in that context? So I showed her. Then we did business strategy. Then we did head teachers. So you may have heard the recording of this, and it was posted in the group. And that's when Amir and I started speaking. And we started speaking about what are the things that people struggle with when they first see this. And there are two that I've seen. One is what you say when people ask you, so what is this principle stuff anyway? And typically the pattern when people get asked that question, when they first see this, someone asks them that question, they go, oh shit, what has it said in all those books I've read and all those tapes I've listened to? They get kind of insecure. Then once they're properly anxious, they open their mouth and start talking. And what comes out is chutney. So that, I wanted to address that. That's the first thing. But then the second one is, it seems like everyone who's been touched by this understanding wants to share it with other people in some way, even if it's just friends and family. They want to share what they're seeing, and almost inevitably there's this one person, and either it's someone they've tried to share it with, or they've got a date to share it with, or every time they imagine sharing it with them, it goes terribly. And so my assertion to Amir is like, these principles play out behind everything. I can handle it. So the heads up, what Amir was talking about was, I've got the Clarity Coach training program kicking off next month. And the how I kind of developed all these ways of thinking about it is because I teach coaches how to do this. I teach coaches and people who want to share this understanding professionally how to do this stuff. So we thought it might be a nice kind of taster for people to see, what's that actually like? How do I actually approach that? So that's what we're doing today.
Well, I think we should get right to it then. Let's get as many as we can, and let's see what
let's hit them.
So quick question, is there any rules that, I know you said you had a little bit. Do you want to kind of briefly mention how we want to outline?
So basically, what I would love to do is, if people have got, someone who they think it's impossible or really difficult to share this with, I'd love to role play it with you. So I'll be me, you be them, and you hit me with whatever objections, concerns, whatever it might be that would make it difficult to share it with them. And we'll find out what happens. So that's why it's Outsmart Jamie Smart, because you may stump me. I may be like, if this goes brilliantly well, then we'll all learn something and it will be fun and I'll be like, yay. And if it goes really badly and I crash it and burn, you guys will get to laugh your heads off. So it's all good. Like, you can't lose if you do this.
I love it, man.
That's my ideal. Like, well, first of all, by a show of hands or type a yes in the comments, if you've got that thing of there's this one person or these kinds of people or whatever who it's hard to explain this to, even if they're just in your mind, even if you haven't got that. So type it into the comments. Give me a yes if you've got that kind of thing in your life, or you just hear like cruising the webinar.
There's a lot of yeses coming in.
Okay, lots of yeses. Great. So let me have the kinds of names of people. Like, is it astronauts? It's like, oh, I couldn't explain this to an astronaut. Or is it your brother-in-law? Or is it your sister's cousin Edna, who's sales manager for Pet World? Or is it the cashier at your local Starbucks? Or is it, so it's a family court judge? That's great. Jessie Lynn. Penny's mom. Sciencey types. Oh, those sciencey types. They're so sciencey. Sue's sister. Martine's son. So lots of family I'm seeing. So now here's the rules, if you like. So Zoe's got a friend who seems to know about everything and anything. So these are great examples. Now, what I'll ask for, Renata's got Family Mental Health Refuge. What I'll ask for is two things. when it comes to sharing this with another person in some way, the first thing I need to know is, who is it? Like, so if it's my dad, it's like, okay, tell me a bit about your dad. Like, what's your dad interested in, or something like that? Because you know a lot about your dad, whereas all I know is his name is Dad. So I'd ask for a little more information, tiny bit of information. Oh, this is great. College classroom discussions. The person who says they get it. Do people have that? Oh, I already know this. You know that they don't, but they say they do? Okay. Michael, can we do you first, actually? Because I bet that's, to some extent, that's all of us, right? We all will say, yeah, I know this, but then there's times when we don't know it, right? So the first thing I'll want to know is, who is the person? Okay, and then the second thing I'll want to know is, what's the context? Is it a dinner party, or is it a swingers party? Is it a business meeting, or is it an AA meeting? Like, what's the context for this conversation? Because different contexts you approach in different ways. So yeah, Michael, should we do yours first? You up for that?
Yeah, Jamie, absolutely. I typed it in to hopefully get some response. My timelines are a little bit tight, unfortunately. I've got to.
Well, this will take 2 minutes. We'll be fast. So Michael, the person who says they get it, is this a specific example you have in mind, or a more general thing?
Well, no, I can make it fairly specific. It all relates to people that are in my gym right now.
Got it.
So people that I'm already coaching on a physical level, that
right.
I've sort of witnessed that there could be a huge benefit or a huge upside to them getting the mental piece as well.
Got it. So Michael, it's people you're already coaching, people who are in your gym. And when you say, what is it they say they get? Just so I know what we're talking about.
Well, it's. I guess when I'm introducing a mental piece, so when I'm going beyond the physical coaching realm,
sure,
and starting to talk about connection to one, starting to poke a little bit at where they think their reality comes from, inevitably that starts to turn into, well, so I often ask the question, where do you think your sense of reality comes from? Where do you think your feelings come from? And very quickly the answer that I get is, well, my thinking, obviously.
Okay, great. So we'll take that. So you're going to pretend to be one of those folks. I'm going to be you. And
okay.
And so hey, gym guy, so let me just get a sense of, because I know you've been saying about motivation, that sort of thing. Where does it seem to you like your experience is coming from?
My imagination. I make it up.
Well, let me check, because, just between us girls, it's kind of like, to me, some of the time, it really doesn't look like that. Like, if I'm being honest, it seems like it's coming from the future or from another person. Like, here's the thing, just leveling with you. If I knew it was my imagination, it wouldn't be a problem. But it doesn't look like it's my imagination a lot of the time. Is that the same for you?
Well, it's like, I think I know that it's my thinking, but what about when my husband or wife does something? Sorry, I'll role play a little better. What happens when when my wife comes home and is grumpy after a day from work? I mean, that just pisses me off. She comes in and she rails on me, and
right. It doesn't seem like that's got anything to do with thought, does it?
No, not at all.
No, right. Well, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just being real about this. Like, just mano a mano. There are times when, for all of us, it absolutely doesn't seem like it's got anything to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but how do we know when it's coming from us and when it's coming from someone else?
Oh, well, that's a terrific question. Now, let me just pause there. See, could you guys tell there's a difference between where we started with, I know it's my thinking, and da-da-da-da-da. Here's the thing. When someone says, I know it's my thinking, no, they don't. Well, they don't. In fact, that's the one thing you can guarantee they don't know. Because if they knew it was thought, they wouldn't even be passing comment on it. Like, I'll give you an example of this, Michael. Like, here, I'll give you an example. I want you to imagine that I'm about to shoot you into space on a giant hot dog made of cheese. Okay, can you imagine that? Do you imagine it?
I got it, yeah.
Do you have any concerns about your health in relation to that?
A giant hot dog made of cheese. All of it?
Well, do you have any concerns that it's going to injure you in any way?
Well, I guess the hot dog could break apart or it would melt going into orbit.
Well, it might certainly do, but do you have any genuine concerns about it?
Absolutely not. No, of course
How
not.
come?
It's not real.
How come?
No, it's not real.
Bingo. So I think you would struggle to get concerned about that because you absolutely know that it's thought. So here's the thing, you guys, I really want you to get. As human beings, we have very little time or interest in something that's irrelevant. As soon as we see it as irrelevant, it's like not interested. That's why newspapers have headlines at the top of them, because they know it's really hard to get people interested in something that they don't see as relevant. Now, the only things that we see as relevant are things we believe are true and real. If someone's going, I know it's just my thinking, but I keep, injecting whatever into my neck, or I know it's just my thinking, but I can't stop being jealous of my wife, or I know it's just my thinking, but I have to keep eating Twinkies. They don't know it's their thinking, because if they genuinely saw that it's thought, that it's imagination, that it's made of the stuff that dreams are made of, it would have no relevance to them whatsoever. So the issue isn't that they know it's their thinking, but the issue is that they don't know it's thought.
Yeah, right.
And that's the game changer right there.
So it sounds like just in this little role play that, with the hot dog made of cheese going into outer space, it's almost the possibility exists to give them something that's so preposterous.
Now here's the thing. That just came to me in the moment. To do with you. I'm not saying, so here's how you crack someone out of it. That's a whole different thing. The reason I chose that and did that counterexample with you is that's what occurred to me in this moment, Michael. Now that's a function of grounding. So for the next one someone asks me, I'd be very surprised if I'm talking hot dogs and cheese and space.
Of course.
So I know it's tempting to turn it into an approach or a technique or a thing. But the moment you do that, then you're gonna so just to back up a bit, when I'm working with people, I think in terms of, first of all, calibration.
Right.
How do they see reality? What's going on in their world? Then I'm thinking about connection. So as I was feeling into the conversation, I was feeling for that connection. Now, when you feel a connection with another person, you're also feeling that connection to life and to the intelligence behind life and to who you really are, which is where that metaphor came from, the hot dog thing, which is so inappropriate to someone who's a physical trainer, obviously. So it's not nice. And then the tiniest little bit of education, an education in the original sense of the word, which is to lead out from within. So the only value that you're going to get from this, Michael, isn't in, I'll use the old hot dog trick. The value is going to be in an insight or realization you have from within yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
Right on. So who learned something from this? Just type in, what did you learn? What did you get? What landed for you just in this first one? We're going to do a bunch of these.
Thanks, Jamie.
You're so welcome. Great to connect with you, Michael.
Yeah, cheers. And unmute myself.
Jamie, that was brilliant, man. One thing I'll say real quick that I got out of it is when I get insecure, I want to teach instead of connect. And what you just did was huge because it like slows me back down to go, okay, calm down. Let's get back to connection. The teaching will follow, which is a huge insight for me right now.
Well, and you know what? I love you said that, Amir, because to me, I don't even teach. Like, you may think, really, Jamie, you sure talk a lot for somebody who doesn't teach. But so I look at my job as a coach, as an educator, as a principals facilitator. My job is just this: to help create the conditions where my client's going to have an insight or realization into who they really are and how their mind really works. So the only purpose of the talking and the examples and all that sort of stuff is to help create the conditions where they're going to have the insights and realizations that are going to do something for them. If Michael had an insight in that conversation, that'll help him out in his next coaching session. If he didn't have an insight, then he'll just be trying to do the hot dog thing on them. So that's the education. The original sense of the word, the etymology of it was educe, to lead out from within, to bring out something that's already in there. To me, that's the essence of insight and realization. So we got great comments here.
May I add something really quickly, Jamie? I apologize.
Go for it.
One of the things that and I don't want to take up anyone else's time here, but the struggle is sometimes, because I'm in a role and a physical role where I'm teaching all of the time, teaching movement patterns and etc. It's challenging sometimes to step back into the just healing piece. So I really appreciate.
I get it.
You know, I feel like I'm programmed to teach in my day-to-day job, so I carry that little subtlety with me when I'm trying to share too. So no, that was brilliant, dude. Thank you so much.
Right on. Great to see you, man.
Yeah, stellar. Ciao, guys.
So Sharon's got one. She said, curious about talking with a person like a therapist or someone who might find it threatening to what they do or be insulted. Sharon, do you have someone in mind who we could do a role play around? Right on. Let's bring Sharon on.
Hi, yeah.
Hey, Sharon. Lovely to see you. And Sophia. Woohoo. So Sharon, who's the person? What's the
this morning, my host here at this house, she's a therapist. She asked what my upcoming retreat was.
Okay, what kind of therapy does she do?
Oh, she was a psychotherapist.
Okay, got it. So here's the thing. I want everyone to notice what I'm interested in is the other person. So let me tell you a little something. People often say to me, oh, Jamie, you're really good at marketing. I'm not good at marketing. I wish I was good at marketing like you. If I was good at marketing, then I had lots of clients. I say, I'm not good at marketing. Apple are good at marketing. I'm good at separate realities. One of the implications of the principles is that every human being lives in a separate reality, an individual thought-generated perceptual reality. And if you want to connect with them and have an impact on them, you got to find out about their reality. So when I'm talking to Sharon and to Michael, what you'll see is I'm interested in the person they're trying to communicate with. So she's a psychotherapist. Working or retired, Sharon?
Retired.
She's a retired psychotherapist? Okay. What's the context in which you'd be talking to her about this?
Well, this was a brief in and out. She was in and out of the house. It wasn't a long conversation.
Right. Okay.
But there was time. It wasn't rushed.
So brief in and out.
It was casual.
Got it.
But we're going to be longer soon.
Okay. So we'll do either the short one or the long one. But the other thing is, what's the name of your retreat?
Ease of transformation.
Okay. So you're going to be her. I'm going to be you. You ask me what the name of the retreat is.
So what's your retreat called? What's it about?
It's called Ease of Transformation. And it's about helping people wake up to the truth of who they really are and to the notion that actually we're all built for realization and transformation. That transformation is the most natural thing in the world.
Huh. Well, I mean, my experience is that I would work with people for years for transformation.
Well, you know
I
what?
mean, it takes time. We do framing, we do all kinds of exercises and work around transformation. That's what I've done my whole life.
Well,
How is it
so
easy?
you've got
Isn't that
tons
kind
of it.
of like Pollyanna?
You've got tons of experience in the field then. So when someone, like, because I guess if you've worked with lots of clients, you'll notice that for some clients it happens kind of in like they don't make any progress, then all of a sudden they make some progress. For other people it's more steady. Is that your experience?
Yeah, actually it is. Mm-hmm.
Well, where do you reckon, like, what do you think it is that accounts for those changes? Like when they come, like, because I know it can take a super long time before someone really shifts or changes. But when it happens, what do you think accounts for that?
Well, I think some people are just more open, like they're just maybe better at being like reflective or working on themselves, and other people are just sort of stuck, or maybe they don't want to get better. I don't know.
Well, that makes sense to me too. But when it happens, like even the people who are really open and willing to work on themselves, all that sort of stuff, it's rarely kind of linear progress, is it? It still seems to be to some degree kind of it happens and then nothing happens and then it happens. Is that your experience?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
So that's the bit I'm curious about, not the stuff that keeps people stuck, because God knows we've all got things where we find it difficult to make changes or we struggle or that sort of thing. I totally get that. But what I'm particularly interested in is those moments when it kind of all happens, those moments of insight, those moments of realization, not just good ideas, but those realizations that make a sustainable difference in someone's life. You've seen clients have those, right?
Yeah, but I don't know how often. I mean, how do you plan to base a whole field of work on something that happens once in a blue moon for people?
Right? What a great question. What a great question. And that's exactly what I'm fascinated by. So I'm going to pause there, because that's where, see, what I'm not trying to do with anyone is trying to persuade them or convince them of anything. At this stage in a conversation, especially with someone who's, kind of quote unquote challenging to work with, what I'm looking to do is for them to be curious. For them to be curious. So when she asks that question, yeah, but how do you base a whole field of work on something that just happens out of the, once in a blue moon? What a great question. That's a really good one, right? That's what I'm fascinated by. Like, that's my job, is how can I help create the conditions so that those once in a blue moon insights and realizations come reliably and sustainably and impactfully. So yeah, that is my fascination. And that question is one that has, engaged me for years. So that's a good question. And I guess we all wonder that, right? So Sharon, how was that for you?
That was lovely. It just comes right back to calibration and connection, and also really being curious, not dismissive in my mind about another person's experience. Remembering to really be curious. What have they seen? What have they worked with? Yeah, that was super helpful.
For me, I'm glad, Sharon, that for me, the whole game is played in calibration and connection. Like, especially for the stuff we're talking about now, I'm not trying to educate at all. But here's the interesting thing. Who's learned something? Even though I'm not trying to educate, I'm just doing my thing, trying to get their world, finding my way into a connection with them. So it's kind of interesting. One of the things is, like, who's heard, oh, it's all grounding, it's all grounding. Who's heard that? Okay, everyone's heard that. Well, yes and no. Here's the thing. Have you noticed that people who are really good coaches, facilitators, trainers, they seem to have skills as well? Have you noticed that? Yeah, there are skills there. But here's the thing you may not have realized until now. Most skill sets that you go learn, like if you go learn to drive, that's an explicit skill set. You learn to check your mirror, you learn to do the signals, you learn to change lanes and all that sort of thing. That's an explicit skill set. But who here is a good driver? Show of hands. It's okay, you can think of it. Now, check this out. When you're driving through a narrow gap, like 2 fence posts or something like that, who breathes in? Look around. Lots of people do that. Now, here's the thing you may not know. Good drivers, all of them do this thing. What they do is they expand their body boundary to include the car. Okay? So you have a body boundary, you know where your body ends and the rest of the world begins. Good drivers, when they get behind the wheel, they expand their body boundary to include the car, and then they use that for not bumping into other things and calculating automatically their position on the road. And you wouldn't even know that you're doing it, except when you go through a narrow gap, you breathe in, because at an unconscious level, the body's that big, and then when you get out of the car, you return to your normal size. That, expanding your body boundary to include the car, is an implicit skill. It's an implicit skill that you use without thinking about it. Same with when you walk. You have an embodied understanding of the fact of gravity. And you have a whole set of implicit skills that you use without thinking about it. So when I'm teaching coaches, what I'm doing is creating the conditions for them to learn an implicit skill set grounded in your embodied understanding of the principles behind clarity, so you can do this work elegantly with people. So that's the whole idea of it. Anyway, let's do another one. Thanks, Sharon. That was a nice demo. Who would love to go? Who wants to outsmart me?
Wendy had her hand up. Wendy Williams. So
Wendy. I can't hear you because your microphone is muted.
Miss Wendy Williams, unmute.
Is this better?
That's much better. Good to see you,
great.
Wendy.
Hey, great to see you. Thank you. So this is really basic outside in 101. I'm an incest survivor, and you have no idea what I endured as a child, and I am damaged. And it isn't my thinking. My suffering comes from my bastard father, and I'm damaged, and I have to live with that for the rest of my days.
So here's the thing, Wendy. Now, let me just double check. Are you role-playing that, or is this your
role-playing 100%?
Okay, so what's your first name, just so I can call you a proper name?
Mary.
Okay, Mary. I think it's terrible what's happened to you. There's no excuse for what happened to you. So let's just start there. And I have no doubt that what happened to you has had a terrible impact on your life, okay? I'm sorry about that. And what I know for sure is that despite that, here you are. You've survived. You've made it. Now,
you could call it that.
Yeah. So, what's your question, Mary?
Well, I mean, I've been hanging around with you, Wendy, for, weeks, and you keep talking about, it's my thoughts that's creating my suffering. My experience comes from my thoughts. It doesn't come.
Oh, got it.
My experience comes from the fact that my father damaged me as a child, and I will never get over that.
I get it. Okay. So I gave you the wrong impression. I'm not talking about your thoughts. I'm not talking about your thinking. When I'm talking about the principle of thought, I'm talking about the incredible capacity that you and each one of us have to create a perceptual reality and experience it as real. Like right now, Mary, I know it looks like you're looking out through your eyes at a world out there, okay? That's how it looks. But what's actually happening is data is pouring in through your senses, and you're creating a perceptual reality based on what's coming in. And it's just the most incredible ability that you have and that we all have. And that's what you're doing. Now, sorry, Amir, we got some interference. I'm not sure where it's coming from.
If you're joining, go ahead and mute, please. I think I don't know who this is. I'll find it. Let me.
Okay, cool, man. So Mary,
I'm listening.
so let me tell you a couple of things. The first thing I'm going to tell you.
Jamie, let me do this. I'm going to mute everybody. Unmute yourself and Wendy, okay?
Amir, I can't unmute Wendy. She may have to do it herself.
Got it.
There we go. Perfect. So, Mary, here's what I'm going to tell you. The one thing we know for sure, you and me, is that whatever your bastard father did to you, it's not happening now, is it? So, and the reason that's actually good news, even though it may not sound it, is because time travel doesn't exist. And there's no way of those feelings coming through history into the present. Those feelings are actually, and this will sound strange, Mary, they're actually letting you know about the thought-generated perceptual reality you're walking around in, moment to moment. And here's why that, go ahead.
No, I want to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
I can see, and I can act, that actually feels good to say I'm not 5 again today in 19 or whatever year it is, 2018. I'm not 5 again. I get that. But I also get the fact that in 2018, I don't trust men.
I get that. Now, go ahead.
And in 2018, if a guy has, thick glasses and is short and wears a tie, I want to throw up. So all these things in 2018 happened to me today.
Oh, I get it. So we can agree on this, that your experience happens real time. But what happened with your dad isn't happening.
Okay, so my experience is real time, but the facts of the case where there was, awful physical contact that shouldn't have happened isn't happening in 2018. I got that. I got that.
So then we have to look at where is that experience coming from? My assertion is that those feelings are letting you know about your psychology real time. And that's worth knowing. That's worth knowing, because what that means is the only thing you're ever going to feel is your own psychology, the principle of thought taking form in the moment. And the beautiful thing about that is, even though it can make you want to throw up, it can't actually hurt you. And here's why that's amazing.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's
the reason
true.
That's amazing news is because you're never going to feel anything except the principle of thought taking form in the moment. Every beautiful feeling you're ever going to feel is going to be thought generated. Every nauseous feeling you're ever going to feel is going to be thought generated. 100% of your feeling is going to be generated by thought in the moment. And what that means is who you really are can never be damaged, never be harmed, never be injured in any way. And that's not just true now. That was true all those years ago too. So I'm going to pause because here's what I'm going to point to. Did you notice that by the time we got to the end of that conversation, we were in a feeling of connection? I mean, that's how it felt to me. How did it feel to you, Wendy?
No, it did feel connecting, and I felt even Wendy and Mary were really open and willing to listen a little bit deeper.
Yeah, that's what I noticed.
Yeah.
That's what I noticed.
I as Mary, I was struggling to say, all right, now I'm hearing something that's a little bit different than blaming me for my misery in 2018. Well, if that hadn't happened to me back in whenever.
Yeah.
So now I'm a little bit open to saying, looking at the characterization of my thoughts a little bit more differently than Wendy had been explaining it to me weeks ago.
Now, here's the thing I want you guys all to be aware of. All I'm looking for in any of these is a little bit of an open door, a little bit of curiosity, a little bit of openness, because then we're having a conversation. And here's the thing. In the course of a coaching conversation, of an enrollment conversation, of a what's this stuff you're doing conversation, the only place that anything interesting is going to happen is when the person you're having a conversation with is in connection with you and is having insights about what you're pointing to. So I'm not trying to find the magic bullet in terms of the right words to say. The words have got nothing to do with that. The thing that's going to have an impact is going to come from within your clients. And that's really, and is going to come from within the person you're talking to. Now, the reason I'm confident that that's going to happen every time is I know everyone has this within them. It's there within everybody. It's there within someone, whether they're a scientist or an astronaut or a child abuse survivor. It's there with someone, whether they're suffering from cancer or a broken leg or a bruised ego. It's there in everyone. And it's knowing that and seeing that that allows you to have this kind of impact. So thank you so much, Wendy. Let's. Oh, you're very welcome. What do you reckon, Amir? How are we doing?
We have, I believe, room for one or two more, depending on how it goes, and then I want to leave it up to you to have a little bit of time to kind of put it all together. So let's go with
land the plane. To land the plane.
Exactly. To land the plane. We've been flying high. I love this so far. Anyone want to jump in? And okay, Jesse Lynn, I'm unmuting you. Go for it.
Hey, Jesse Lynn, great to see you.
You too, Jamie. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Good, thanks. So my question is, I am talking to 2 judges next month, and the premise of what I want to talk to them about is that if we address the role of conflict in divorce and separation, that it'll cut down significantly on conflict cost and time in cases, the backlog, but mainly in the outcome for the individuals involved. And specifically, for kids, that's my ultimate passion, but working with the whole family.
And so what is your concern that the judges will not think that's interesting?
So I've had a brief dialogue with one of them, and they don't get how what I'm proposing might help them.
Got it. So what is it when I heard you say talking to judges about the role of conflict in those situations? I'm not sure what it is you're proposing. So what are you proposing, Jessie Lynn?
The legal system as it stands right now, I've been working with a lot of clients, and what happens is, say my son's father took me to court. And it went immediately to a trial for no reason. It was fast tracked. It cost me $5,000 just to show up that day.
Right.
Before that, I was required to go to a parenting session, and that parenting session was a lawyer and a mediator telling us why not to go to court. So what I'm trying to address is the fact that, first of all, court is it's conflict, to the max.
Yeah.
But when we went to court, the judge said, go to mediation. But when they're proposing mediation, they say that's for couples who are willing to kind of cooperate as moving forward. So what I'm trying to kind of propose in the conversation is that, I don't know how to kind of articulate it, but for me, if we addressed the conflict in the beginning of the process, that might have an impact on how people go through the process.
Okay, so I'm just gonna, I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm struggling to get a handle on what it is you're proposing. So when you say address the conflict in the beginning of the process, when is that, Jessie Lynn?
So say as soon as people enter the legal aspect of going through separation and divorce in Canada,
Right.
unless you do it by yourself,
Yep.
either through, there's mediation, collaborative law, and then there's the court system. So
So are you saying do mediation or some kind of mediation before it gets any further down the road, like as kind of step one in the process?
What I'm saying is, what I would love to see is conversations around addressing the actual fact of the conflict between the couple, because through the whole process, when they're in a low state.
I get it. So here's the thing I'm noticing, and this may be helpful to you in explaining it to the judge. Now, I'm totally on your team, Jessie Lynn. I really want this to work. I'm struggling to know what you're talking about, so I'm confused. Okay, so speaking to you as a coach, I'm going, well, if I'm confused about, like, if it seems kind of spacey to me, it's hard to, like, I'm like, what's, like, I totally get the purpose of it, and but it seems very abstract. And if it seems abstract to me, I'm guessing it seems kind of floaty and abstract to you. Does it, or is it just me?
When I'm articulating it, it sounds really abstract. In my head, it's so clear.
Okay, so like if a person was going to do this thing that you're proposing, what would happen differently?
I think
what actual things in the world would happen?
I think the conflict between the couple would decrease significantly.
No, that's the benefit of it. Like what actual things? So if a judge said, I'm in, Jessie Lynn, I love the sound of this, who has to be where, when, doing what in order for this to happen?
Good question.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing, Jessie Lynn. I get that you massively see the benefit of this and can see and hear and feel exactly how it's going to work. The thing is, at the moment, it's what I hear is addressing the conflict before but it's super abstract. So strangely, if we were going to role play it, well, let me make it up. You be the judge. I'll be you. Go on.
Because I was just going to say what I want to get across is the role of the importance of state of mind in this process.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to be the judge.
You're going to be the judge. I'm going to be the you. What triggers the conversation?
I asked to have a meeting with them to talk about the role of state of mind. And it's actually, one of my friends is a judge, so this is how I've had the conversation with her a bit.
Okay, so Your Honor, I wanted to have a conversation with you because I see an opportunity to significantly reduce the amount of conflict, the amount of court time, court expense, and the amount of family distress in the process of separation and divorce.
And how do you propose that we would do that?
Well, it's very simple. See, it turns out that a person's state of mind is going to have a massive effect on whether they're engaged, collaborative, civil, and solution-oriented during that process versus conflict-oriented, fighting with each other, throwing, taking a no prisoners policy. The state of mind that the participants are in is going to have a huge impact on that one way or another.
Isn't that what counselors are for?
Well, in an ideal world, that's the effect that counselors would have. But all too often, counselors don't know the role of state of mind in that either.
Well, what about mediation?
Well, when mediation works, it's great, but all too often it's further down the road. It's after people have already invested time, energy, and expense in trying to solve it. So they're actually more dug in by the time they get to mediation.
So you're suggesting that we put a little more focus on the state of mind before they start the process?
Yeah, something really simple, just to help people see that when it's so natural when we're heading into what is inevitably ripe territory for conflict, that they understand that how they're feeling is going to influence how they're relating to the other people involved. And so just giving people a little more clarity and understanding on that can make a really big difference.
So do you think this is something that would work? You think as a judge I should be able to tell somebody this, or you think that somebody else should be able to tell them?
I think it's probably not the best use of your time, but I can imagine that taking people through a simple class or even giving them access to resources could really reduce the waste of the court's time and cause a lot less conflict. So let me time out on this one, because here's what I want to point to, guys. Just double check, and I'm not gonna. I may have been alone in finding what Jessie Lynn was proposing kind of abstract, and yet I can hear the heart and the truth of what she's saying is that it's something really vital and useful and valuable. I felt like she kind of needed to get something more concrete if she wants to talk to judges about it and get something actually implemented. But Jessie Lynn, what did you hear out of that?
I heard, for me, what I heard from you versus what I've been hearing from my own kind of story that I've been telling is that I've been wanting to educate before I kind of calibrate with them or connect with them in a way. Yeah. And that's the really significant piece. And I think as soon as you have that connection in that conversation, it would come out.
Brilliant. And it's a great catch, Jessie Lynn. I think that changes the moment we see that education isn't about putting more information in, it's about helping create the conditions for insight. And in my experience, there's nothing more likely to help create the conditions for realization and insight than calibration and connection. Right. That's what does the heavy lifting. So let's do one more. Let's do a quick one. Amir, thanks, Jessie Lynn.
Thank you.
Can we do one quick one?
Yeah, let's do a quick one. We have one more. We got to stump this guy. So let's get him.
Yeah. Who's got a really tough one?
Anyone want to join? While someone is raising their hand, I have to say one of the things I realized when you're speaking is, people start with, what would you say to a judge or a therapist? And I feel like when you're talking, you don't care about their label. Like you go right to the heart of who they are, the person, not because I think what happens is we have this idea, well, it's a judge. So we have to act like, okay, we got to make sure we get all our ducks in order. And you kind of bypass that. and you go right back to, well, what do you think this, or how do you see this? And it goes right back to the connection and the calibration and just humanity.
It really does, Amir. And let me kind of tune that up a little bit. I'm still aware that judges may be at a surface level, a judge may be interested in a different thing to Michael Fall's gym client, or to a child abuse survivor, or so different people have different interests and different priorities. So I'll be cognizant of that, but I'm still looking for, how can I make a human-to-human connection with this person? I'll give you a great example. When I've been interviewed on TV, which I find a somewhat terrifying experience, by the way, I know that when I get on air, especially I'm often interviewed about sports, which I know nothing about. I'm not a sports guy. So interviewed about the role of state of mind in sports. I know that the best thing I've got going for me is a connection with the interviewer and really listening to their questions and finding out what they mean and responding to that.
Brilliant. And Jamie, we got our final one's going to be Jack Austin. I'm going to unmute
Jack
you.
Austin. Hey, Jack, what up? Jack, you're on mute, buddy.
Jack, what happened to you? You got scared.
Okay, let's do another one because we're almost out of time.
Yep.
We got someone else?
I got it open.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah. I mean, Amir muted me unintentionally because I already had it unmuted.
So who's your person, Jack?
The person is an attorney friend who's very results-oriented.
Results-oriented attorney. And what's the context where they
the context was mental state for him.
Oh, got it. Okay. And what's the context? Like, is it a dinner party, in the lineup at Starbucks? Are you having a drink together? Is it a barbecue? Are you in his office? What's the context?
We were on the phone. We were on the phone.
So
yeah.
So you're having a catch up as colleagues, as friends, as whatever.
Friends.
And how did the conversation come up?
Basically, he trusts me about a lot of information. He's gotten a lot of health benefits and things like that from things I've suggested. So
what's his first name?
His name is Milan.
Okay, you're Milan, I'm you. So you start what's the trigger to this conversation?
So, Jack, I mean, you've told me about this before. I mean, you gave me that book, about that Jamie Smart guy, and I just don't find it actionable. I don't know how to be able to do this.
Got it. Now, just so I can get on the same page with you, Milan, what's this that you don't know how to action?
Well, I mean, this 3 Ps thing, this clarity thing. I mean, it doesn't seem substantial. I mean, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I get it. And was there anything in it that you read that rang a bell or made any sense, or that kind of illuminated anything for you, Milan?
I just felt kind of confused.
Got it.
Yeah.
So that nothing really made any sense to you?
Well, I mean, I like the idea about results. I mean, that was, that's what my business is. I do that all day long.
Got it. Right. So you're results oriented and like, just out of curiosity, so I can remember, what had you interested in reading it in the first place? Like, for what purpose to explore this stuff?
Well, you'd said that this is something new that you had discovered, which had a ton of empowerment to you. You experienced.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I remember that. But why did that interest you? Like, sure, it made a difference to me, but why would that be interesting to you?
Because I'm always looking for the edge on everything.
Got it.
I want the highest tech.
Yeah, got it.
Edge, most effective everything.
Got it. So you want to be kind of leading edge on everything. How come?
Well, that's what I get paid for. I mean, that's what keeps me in a job.
Right. And so being able to continue to be kind of at the top of your field.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where do you think high performance comes from, Milan?
Well, based on my experience in Tony Robbins and SEAL team stuff, I mean, it's being in the most effective state of mind that you can be in.
Got it. And how do you know in any situation what the most effective state of mind is going to be?
Some people call it flow. No thinking. Usually I get there when it's impossible.
Yeah, right? Like, and that really squares with my experience as well. Like when the chips are down, you find yourself in that state. And yet, I don't know if this is the case or not, I'd love to know. Have you found that it's the sort of thing where, like, the more you think about trying to do it, the harder it is?
Yes.
Yeah. And so, and it kind of, I love the way you put it, flow, a state of no thinking. The challenge is, what I've seen is that most approaches to no thinking involve quite a lot of thinking. Have you noticed that?
Well, now that you mention it, I hadn't really thought about it, but yes. I mean, it reminds me of when you told me that you got your black belt because they told you and you had to take a test in 5 minutes with no prep. Mm-hmm. You just, it had to be done. And there was no way you weren't going to, there was no way I wasn't going to fail. I mean, I was going to fail. I was going to do it no matter what.
So what I'm going to suggest, Milan, is that, if you stop and think about it for a second, the fact that you're at the top of your profession means you have many times been able to count on yourself to get into high performance states and deliver results. And my guess is you were already doing that before you'd read any books about it.
That's true.
Yeah. And my assertion is, but you can test this for yourself, that the reason that's true is because it's an innate capacity. It's a built-in quality of how your mind already works. But the difference between what you're used to, which is what you're used to is additive approaches, do this and think that and practice this and memorize that. This is actually subtractive. Because if you stop and think about it for a moment, if you're going to experience a flow state with no thought, then it's actually about clearing things out of the way rather than putting more things in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it gave me an insight too.
Got it. Let's hear it, Jack. So time out. Let's hear it. What you got?
Well, very traumatic childhood. So, in other words, he gets pushed to his ultimate limit, mm-hmm. and then he drops in, and he doesn't realize that he can produce that without having the traumatic experience.
Yeah, got it.
So he creates stacking to push himself to the ultimate limit, to force himself to produce these results. Of course, there's a negative compounding effect from, what Michael says, putting the gun to your head consistently, eventually going to want to use it.
Sure. Oh, well, maybe not. Let's not
well,
say that.
I know, but I mean, yeah, but that strategy tends to bring about crises and unpleasantness in my experience.
Yeah, that's true. Well, wonderful. Thank you, Jack.
That was really, really helpful because I really care about this guy, and
I can tell.
And I'm not getting it across to him. I'm not helping him see it.
No, you're very, very welcome, and great to see you here. So listen, guys, just to kind of land the plane on this, if I was to put it in a nutshell, it would be like the best thing each of us has going for us is our understanding of these principles, what you've seen for yourself. That's what you can share with someone else. And I know the fact that you're even on this call means you've had insights and realizations. You've seen things for yourself. And so that means you have something to share. I'll say that again. You have something to share. So the question isn't, do you have something to share or not? You do. You have what you've seen for yourself. So the art form, or the skill, if you like, is getting your insecurities out of the way so that you can share what you've seen for yourself. And in my experience, a simple way of thinking about that is calibration, connection, and education. But here's the thing. The most important person to calibrate is yourself. That's the most important person to calibrate. You got to calibrate your client or the person you're talking to as well. But the most important person to calibrate is yourself, because, of course, you're looking through the same kind of goggles that they are. So that's the essential thing. Anyway, we've run a bit over time. Amir, thank you so much for hosting me. Guys, I've got the Clarity Coach training starting next month. We really dive deep on this, so we're going to be what we reliably do is help people create profound transformations in their own life and bring this work to their clients and the people they care about and want to impact. And we also look at the whole growing a practice and doing this professionally. So if you're interested in this, you can,
Jamie, I'll add it to, I'm going to put this recording in my group, and I will add the link. So send me the link, and they can also probably connect.
I'll send you the link. So I'll put a link there, and we'll put a call link in and that sort of thing if you want to book a call with anyone. But just add me as a friend on Facebook, and you can just message me or something. I'm around. And yeah, it's lovely to have this time with you. And thanks again, Amir. It's really, really thoughtful of you to host this.
Jamie, I can't thank you enough, and everyone that joined. I want to give a big love to you, Jamie. That was really helpful for me, to be honest with you, and I know it was very helpful for so many people here. And I'm going to put you on the spot and I try to outsmart you. Would you be down to do this again at some point? Would you guys want to see this again?
Absolutely.
Wave, do something. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
I'd be up for that. And the other thing that's fun is the how to talk about what you do. That's a good one. Because what I find is it's actually so easy, but here, I'll give you a taster of it. It's about making the shift from explaining, which, as you saw, I'm never really trying to explain this. I'm not trying to explain it. Rather, I'm engaging people in a conversation because I'm interested. I want to find out, what do they see? What's going on? So yeah, maybe we can do that too.
I'm down for that. We'll get together and chat about that. And in the meantime, you guys have a wonderful weekend, and you guys go out there, go have some conversation, put this to the test and see what happens. And on that note, peace.
Thanks, man.
Bye, you guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Jamie.
See ya. See ya,
Bye.
Helen.
See ya.
Bye.
Pushing.